Hello, Albuquerque.
In those days, it was 41, so there was a lot of racism.
I'm a Boeing 737 first officer.
I did a lot of research and I recommend everyone do the same.
And now suddenly you're addicted, literally to heroin.
Where were you born? I was born in Cambridge, England.
Both my parents were drug addicts.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Ordinary Joe's Extraordinary Stories. Today I have another special guest as always. Today is my brother, Cory Graves. Welcome to the show, Cory.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No,
I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for coming and doing this. So I like to start these things out by talking about how we know each other. Well, obviously you're my brother, so I know you because you're my brother, but that's not a standard thing with us because we didn't even meet each other until you were, what, like 9 years old or something like that?
Yeah, it was like, maybe a little bit younger, like maybe 6 because...
No, it couldn't have been that. I was 18.
I got pictures of us as kids.
What?
Kids, yeah. Like,
bro, my memory is fucked because I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I've got pictures.
Wow.
Yeah, younger.
The earliest that I remember is after I graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to stay with you guys that night.
Yeah.
And Dad was like, you have two brothers. And I was like, what the fuck? Two brothers? Where was I? Because, damn. So, okay, prior to us meeting formally and in person, how did you know of me? How did that come about? Like, what did you know or what didn't you know?
Well, I think really I think it's like when we first started seeing one another, like I said, when we were younger. And I've got like vague memories of us staying at Grandma's house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You remember Grandma? Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
The granny?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember, our other brother, Richard, he doesn't remember her all too much, but...
Okay, hold on just a sec. Richard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know Richard. Who is Richard? Claude.
Yeah.
His name is Richard?
Yeah, he's named after our great-grandpa.
Holy... Oh my God. Okay, so, all right.
He prefers Richard, that's why I said Richard, so...
Wow, yeah. Okay. God damn it, now I gotta have him on here.
Yeah.
So, let me just preface this part of the conversation with, I have 3 dads. Most people don't have a dad or have a dad, and that's it. I have 3. And it's really weird. So, my dad who raised me, Gene, he lives in Penasco. He's the guy that I know as my dad because he was around most of my life. Through no fault, there's no blame. This is not a hate thing or anything. I love all my dads. Then our dad that we share in common, James, I knew him as a kid, and then my mom moved us away, and we didn't have contact for years and years and years, and then he showed up at my graduation, and we reconnected, and that's basically the beginning of my memory of you guys. Yeah. So apologies, because that's kind of some bullshit. I don't remember. I do remember being young and staying at the granny's house and her making me just these ginormous goose eggs that I could not finish. I was way too full.
Yeah, she had geese.
It was the coolest thing ever. And I remember, oh God, there's this distinct smell of her house. Mm-hmm. And I love that smell, and I've never smelt it anywhere else ever again. And I wish I could, because it's such a nostalgic smell.
Cozy, homey.
Yes, very much.
She always had a wood fire going. So
yes.
She was always, she always had toast.
I don't know. No, it was none of those. It was. There was a sweet smell. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. It just, when I can vaguely remember the smell, and when I remember that smell, I can just picture the layout of her house and her kitchen and her always fresh squeezing orange juice. And, man, good times. And then Grandpa always with his Fig Newtons.
Yeah.
That's what I remember as a kid, sitting at his big-ass wood table and him being like, look what I got for you. And I'm like, yeah, I love those.
Fig Newtons and black licorice.
I don't remember the black licorice.
Yeah, maybe that was for me, because he I feel like Grandma and Grandpa had a huge part in my life. Like Grandma helped raise me, and
awesome.
Grandpa was, and then later on I went and lived with Grandpa for, I think like 15 years is what it was.
Right.
Before he passed. But a lot of the foods, it was just like old folks foods like Fig Newtons and black licorice.
There's nothing wrong with that. Those are the best
gum.
Love it. Yeah, I don't know. I can picture his layout of his house as well when I think about the Fig Newtons, and I still buy them today. I make her get them for me all the time because it's such a nostalgic thing, and I don't know at this point if I actually care for Fig Newtons or if it's just a nostalgia that I relive those memories, but either way I love them and I'll never stop eating them.
Right, yeah.
So, interesting. Okay.
Fig Newtons.
So, back to what you were saying, our brother Richard, who I did not know is Claude. I know, let's not get it twisted. I know that brother now that we've set the record straight.
Yeah, you know who he is.
I just didn't know his name.
Yeah, he likes Richard, and so I figured like we're in a formal setting, so I might as well address him by the name he prefers. But yeah, he remembers grandma, great grandma. He doesn't have like the biggest memory of her because he was he's pretty young when she was in our lives, and then she passed away I think in 99.
Oh my god, dude, that's crazy.
So then he has memories of her, and but for me, like, I remember you coming over, and I stayed at grandma's a lot, and you stayed over one night, and she had like I don't know what to call it, it was like a bed built into the wall.
I remember that with the candle.
Yeah.
The candle freaked me out.
Yeah. And you were sticking your feet in my face because you were on the end of the bed. And I think that's really my first memory.
I'm so sorry. That's crazy. Yeah. I remember that little, it was like a nook in the wall.
Yeah. Do you remember the little heart lamp?
No, I don't.
You don't remember the heart lamp?
No.
Yeah. She had it for years, and she always talked about how it was yours, and so when you weren't around anymore, like, it sort of, I guess it was like a hand-me-down. It became mine, and so then I remembered, like, the heart lamp.
Do you still have it?
No, I was just thinking about, I wonder whatever happened to that heart lamp.
How dare you get rid of my heart lamp?
Yeah, your heart lamp.
I
family heirloom. That's your inheritance. That's all we have.
Hey, I'll take it. So... Okay, let's say it this way. Maybe I do remember you, but I didn't know who you were.
Right, yeah.
And that's kind of weird to me why they wouldn't say this is your brother. Because that would have made my memories of that time a whole another different... I guess I would have paid more attention.
Yeah. You would have registered.
Without knowing who you were, that would just be, there's this other
there was no context.
Staying at grandma's house. Big grandma has lots of grandkids, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But...
and growing up, too, when you weren't around, my mom and dad did talk about you, so I was aware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Aware. Yeah.
And same with Richard?
Yeah. They talked about you a lot and always, wondered where you were and how you were doing, so.
And it's so weird, because you think about the day and age we live in now, and it's pretty easy to find people.
Yeah, we're so interconnected.
It would have been very convenient back then to be able to at least get in touch and be like, what's going on? Where are you? Can we meet? Something,
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate that we missed a lot of time, but, all the more reason to make it up now.
Yeah, no, totally.
So that's very interesting. I want to talk about you being a gay man in modern society, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's take it back to the beginning of that. When did you realize that was your sexual preference? And real quick, before we move on, please forgive me if I say any arrogant shit or any inappropriate shit. I'm comfortable with you because you're my brother, and so I don't know a lot, and I just really want to understand because this is your lifestyle. I want to.
Yeah.
I support you 100% in any choice you make. If I say something that's offensive, please tell me that's fucking offensive. Don't say that shit, and I won't.
Yeah, right. No. And I wouldn't even approach it that way either.
Well, you fucking should.
It's time to just educate, and we're going to reevaluate.
Please.
I don't know. I guess I've always kind of known, and I really, I kind of consider myself gender fluid. I've never really identified with, and both. I think all of us, we have a masculine and feminine side. And I've kind of always floated between the two.
Okay.
And I've always known that since I was a kid. And, I was fortunate enough to have the people in my life that were understanding.
Okay.
I know Dad had a little bit of he had a hard time with it. But my mom, grandma, even our grandpa, who was, fundamentalist Christian.
Gnarly.
Never really talked about, me being the quote unquote black sheep of the family.
Okay.
But I think I was fortunate enough, because not everybody's fortunate enough to have a family that's understanding or at least tolerant.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between having accepting and understanding people in your life, and then there's tolerance. We tolerate colds. We tolerate a cold.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean,
have you experienced that in your life? Somebody who just tolerates it and isn't like that's who you are. Like maybe somebody living with this idea that someday it might change or something.
I want to say that I've actually been fortunate enough in my life to not have to experience too much.
That's great.
Queer phobia.
That's great.
I want to say queer phobia because I feel like homophobia it just kind of centralizes everyone being gay and not everybody's gay. It's a very broad spectrum, and
right.
And I feel like queer phobia tends to encompass the marginalization and the intolerance that a lot of people see being a queer person. But I have to say that I didn't experience too much of it. I was very fortunate, but what little I did experience did have I guess a profound effect, because I mean, I've grown up now knowing like I would never want to be treated, even though it was few and far between, I would never want to be treated that way, so I would never want to treat anybody else that way.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. But like I said, there's been few instances of it, but even those few instances did hurt. Mm-hmm. And like I was constantly teased, and believe it or not, I was teased for the texture of my hair more than I was for my sexuality, for my identity.
Sorry, the texture of your hair.
Yeah, my curly hair. People like gave me so much shit because I had curly hair, and it never made sense to me. And maybe because I like over intellectualize everything, and I'm just kind of like, my hair, okay, doesn't make sense to me. But growing up in where I grew up, I think the biggest thing was being isolated from a sense of community. That was probably the hardest part.
Like you felt alone because there's nobody that you could share that with? Or?
Because of the town I grew up in, there wasn't a big community. So when something tragic happened, like the Pulse nightclub shooting, there was a huge sense of feeling completely, utterly alone and disconnected from people that you share something with.
God, you don't even think about things like that as being on the other side of the I don't know, what do you call it, an aisle, I guess?
Yeah.
Being on the other side. You don't think about things like that, and that's very hurtful. Right,
because, I think it's easy for everyone to say, well, we're all human and we're all connected, but that's really not how it is. We are human, but
anybody who's gone to a public school knows
that's we're false. Not, it's a nice idea, but, we're all segmented and segregated.
Yeah.
As individuals and as communities.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a sense of community, especially one that you can relate to, when you experience, I'm not saying that I experienced that, but experiencing trauma from knowing that a specific place and people were targeted because of who they are, where the place was.
Yeah. That
in itself was just traumatizing and really upsetting, and not having anybody to relate to. I mean, I had friends. I mean, this was, we were in the middle of like social media, and you could reach out to friends, but it's not the same as sitting down and having an in-person conversation with someone about
I understand
how you're feeling or what's going on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
Social media is, I mean, as close and connected as everybody is, it's so impersonal.
No, that's facts. Mm-hmm. Just like texting and I'm not one to talk because I prefer texting over everything, but it's very impersonal. It's like buying everybody gift cards for Christmas. There's no thought behind it. It's just I'm communicating because I have to, not because I want to.
Yeah,
that's wild. When did you start to feel that sense of community? When did you get that in your life?
You know what? Probably, I guess maybe when I started traveling and reaching out more to, because I would come down to Albuquerque and kind of, I had friends here, and so there was kind of a sense of community there. But, know what? I think even when you feel like you have a sense of like there's a community around you, I think even then it can still kind of feel really lonely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
It's so weird for you to like.
Even within the community itself, there's factions of it who don't tolerate trans people. Yeah, I mean, I have tons of trans friends.
You're different than us.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and trans people were at the forefront of our civil rights movement. Very instrumental in getting us to where we are today. And, you know, there's now this sense that they need to be rejected or ostracized from the community. And there's a lot of infighting.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially amongst, like, older gay men, probably about my age and older.
Sorry, did you just call yourself old?
Well, I mean, older gay... Yeah, I mean, I guess I would be considered, like, an older gay man because I'm almost 40. So,
no, you're not.
yeah,
You're a kid.
I'm 38.
You're a little kid.
I'm 38.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Where has the time gone?
I don't know.
Holy crap, dude.
And COVID cut out a huge part of it. So,
Didn't it?
Yeah. And, you know, that's another thing, too, is, like, I moved here, like, at the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge adjustment even. I mean, I'm solitary by nature. I've always been that way.
And I was gonna say when you were just talking about sense of community, I was thinking like, well, you prefer to be by yourself anyway. Like,
Yeah. I'm solitary.
That's wild.
I'm solitary by nature, but humans in general, we tend to be social creatures.
Yes.
And there are times when you want to... I have to say, like, now that I've moved here, the sense of community is much larger, and I have a lot more people that I can relate to and get together with.
That's awesome.
I can go to drag shows and go to the bars, and you just feel at home because everybody else feels the same way and has experienced what you've experienced, you know?
That's you just brought up a really good, interesting point. The drag thing. I want to touch on that in a little bit, but please continue with what you were saying.
I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry,
No,
I
you're
fucked
okay.
that up.
No, you're okay.
Educate me on drag. Is that a hobby? Is that a part of your everyday life? Does that even take it back even further? How did that even start?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't do drag, but I love drag. And there was a point where I, like, dabbled, but I'd never actually performed. I didn't do much outside of just doing, like, hair and makeup.
So it's a performance thing. It's not
yeah,
just
drag
like,
is drag is
It's
first
not
and
just
foremost
something
drag
people-
is a protest. Drag is
Okay.
first and foremost drag is a protest.
Okay.
But it's very performance related. And let's start by saying that drag is not just for cis men, or cis men, gay men. Anybody can do drag. Women can do drag. Trans men can do drag. Trans women can do drag. Anybody can do drag.
Okay.
Anyone. And you look at today, and you know what? I said cis men. There's a number of cis drag queens. Maddie Morphosis, for instance, Disasterina, she's another one. She's I mean, anybody can do drag. So that's something that I think a lot of people need to remember. And you know, a lot of queens have actually, there's a lot of queens who are ostracized because there's, like, subgenres of drag. There's pageantry drag, there's campy drag, there's what is called, like, alt drag or horror drag. In itself is just girls who are into horror themed drag aesthetics.
What is that, like, murder dressed
It's
up
like
like
a lot of horror
victim, or-
movies, a lot of
or the
horror
monsters
themed looks. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's a whole. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of RuPaul's Drag Race.
I've heard of it, but
Right,
I'm
okay.
not familiar.
So that's really mainstream right now. And then there's a number of them because there's Camp Wanakiki, which is another drag show drag competition, and then there's Dragula, which is solely for a lot of queens who are alt queens. And
Interesting.
you've got, you know, non-binary people there. You've got, again, heterosexual people.
Wow.
Gay people, lesbians. You've got, I mean, everybody.
Now, does it have to be specifically in a performance setting, or is this something that people, like, if they enjoy it, can just do at home and kick back that way because they like it?
That's
is that a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you're doing drag, and I don't know if we should actually really, like, talk about drag because I'm not like an expert on drag, but I know drag queens. And,
You know more than I do.
Right.
I'm just trying to get a
like I
sense of
said,
it.
drag in itself is a protest. And so if you want to dress up, if you want to throw on a lace front and put like pounds of makeup on your face and sit in your house and play video games. And a lot of drag queens will do that. You know, like they actually like they'll get in full drag, they'll beat their face, and then they get on Twitch and they stream.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Dead by Daylight.
Okay, now women doing drag, do they dress up as men? Is it?
There's
the
drag
opposite?
kings. There are, but there's also female identifying people who will don full drag and what you consider, you know, like female drag, because when you think about it, drag is a form of self-expression, and drag is also a way to say, take a look at what we have put on a group of people, i.e. women.
Uh-huh.
They've got huge boobs and they have to have big hair and full makeup, and it's a way to, I don't know, kind of hold up a mirror to society in itself and like, look at this, what you expect of a certain gender.
Well, that's cool because we treat women like shit as a society,
Right.
so that's
Yes, we really do.
amazing.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, in my experience with like watching drag and talking about drag, I feel like the world in itself is so anti-feminine that they hate anything feminine. Anything. I mean, they hate drag. They hate women. Anything that is not considered masculine is just hated.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's our...
I mean, and that's where I caught a lot of flack because, like I said, I kind of float between the two, but I always tend to identify a little bit more feminine, and that's, if I ever experienced any kind of intolerance or hatred, that's where I usually got it from. Because, look, I mean, like, I like long nails and I like to paint my nails. That's not inherently feminine, but because somebody would see that, and they would, yeah.
Look at MGK. That guy paints his nails every day.
Exactly. So,
and he's dating a woman that most dudes go apeshit over. So,
right.
Yeah, that doesn't say anything.
Right. Femininity is hated, and that's the root of all of it.
Okay. You also touched on something that I want to ask about because I know nothing of the identifiers. What are they called? What is it, like how people identify?
Oh, like non-binary people.
Yes. What are all some of the different ones, and what, like, okay, so I've heard of like they them. What does that specifically mean?
Well,
how would you identify as that?
I mean, I've got a lot of non-binary friends, and they them is really, you don't necessarily subscribe to any of the binaries, which would be male or female.
Okay.
You just feel neutral. Some people feel like they're in the middle.
And is that a sexual preference relation, or is it just I don't want to be somebody that you're going to label, so I'm they them?
You mean like, it just has it's all about your identity as who you are as a person. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your sexuality so much as...
Okay, yeah, that was my question.
Yeah,
so you could be a they them and be straight, or what society
I have
straight.
non-binary heterosexual friends. Yeah,
heterosexual. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm ignorant as fuck. I really want to know. Yeah, it is because I didn't.
How we learn though.
Well, and I'm barely starting, but I'm 30 years old this year, so it's a long time coming.
We learn. Yeah, I mean, I myself, like, I use all the pronouns. He, she,
Pronouns.
they. Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I subscribe to a lot of pronouns, and the older I've gotten, the more, like, I don't always refer to myself as a man, and I don't ever like refer to myself as a woman, but person, like
person. Cool.
Yeah, a lot of the time I float between the middle, and I don't care. Sometimes I get she, and I don't mind that at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, I get he, of course. But as far as like non-binary people go, I mean, it's you've got he, she, they, them, his, hers, and then you've got also neopronouns, which that's a little bit more complicated, and I'm not too familiar, because it's, like I said, it's a little bit more complicated, and I'm not too familiar on, because there's like ze, zer, zem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's also a lot of other neopronouns. Yeah, that a lot of people will subscribe to, and some of my non-binary friends have told me, like, I just don't how do I explain it? Like, God, just, I want to be something. I just don't know what.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just call me, and
That's got to do something to a person's psyche. That's got to be really rough.
I mean, like, because we grow up thinking that we're supposed to be one way.
Yes.
And, we're always changing as a person.
Well,
we're always changing.
I mean, Sarah and I are good examples of that just for vegetarian veganism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're taught as a society that this is the way shit is. You kill animals, you eat them.
Mm-hmm.
And because we don't subscribe to that, we're the outcasts. We're different. And people don't understand it. And it's so weird.
Yeah.
So I imagine to a much greater extent, that's what you guys, the LGBTQ community goes through. That's rough.
I mean, because, I've got friends who identified as female for a while, but that was really, they realized that they were only identifying as female because that's how they grew up, and that's what their parents taught them, and they grew up now later on realizing, like, no, I just don't really subscribe to either.
Wow, so that was
just me.
A parental influence?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, our parents, I had a boy. So, I mean, like, let our dad, for instance. Our dad thought that I was going to, like, fish and hunt and do all the stuff that he did.
Sure.
That's not me. That's Claude. Claude does that. But, for me, I was the bookworm, and I hung out with my mom all the time, and I wanted to... I mean, even in school, I wanted to hang out with the old ladies and, like, chit-chat. I didn't want to... Yeah, and so... and to him, that's considered, it's not masculine.
Okay.
So, also, we're subscribing to these ideologies that there's masculine, fishing and hunting are masculine and cooking is it's like all of those labels that doesn't make, they're just
the
actions.
Shit that was labeled in the 50s that we're still subscribing to.
If you microwave your ramen, are you a woman? That's stupid. If you don't clean up after yourself when you're a grown-ass man, you're a baby. I can tell you that much.
Facts. Or you're a pig.
Or you're a pig.
I mean, there's one of the two.
But living in, like, the gendered norm can be rough for a lot of people. I think, like I said, I was fortunate enough to grow up and people let me put on dresses and put on makeup and play with dolls and do whatever I wanted. And they didn't necessarily understand it at the time, but thank God that they were understanding enough that they let me do it so I could figure out things on my own.
And so as a kid doing those things, this felt natural to you. This felt like this is what you enjoyed doing.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like you were doing it for protest or anything like that. It was like this is
six.
Awesome.
I was just like I was 6, so I was like, oh, dresses are pretty. Dresses are pretty. Dresses are fun to wear. Dresses are pretty, like it's
okay, let me touch on that. As a kid, seeing women wearing dresses or tight skirts blew my fucking mind because I was like, how do they even walk in those things?
Right,
like,
yeah.
I would be so claustrophobic wearing something like that.
Right, yeah.
That's gnarly. So women have always been like this anomaly to me that they're like, I don't know,
Well, and you think about it, how many women that you saw were wearing those may not have even been wanting to wear them, and they just thought they had to because it was expected of them.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Same with heels.
Yeah, same with heels. Or how many men actually want to be walking around in a dress? They don't want to be wearing hot-ass pants.
I mean, there's always a kilt.
Yeah, there's a kilt. It's just, I mean, if we're going to seriously talk about what happened to all the men used to fight wars. Okay?
I'm pretty sure
they
they
also
still
used
do.
to wear wigs and heels, and it's just so stupid. This whole gendered world is so dumb, and it inhibits anybody from living any kind of authentic life. If we are not given, and thankfully society is changing where parents are now raising kids the way kids want to be raised. Parents are realizing, oh, if I have a little girl, maybe she doesn't want to dress the way I want her to dress. Maybe she wants to wear basketball shorts and a Pokemon t-shirt.
Okay, but to that extent, you just touched on something that bugs the shit out of me. Those same parents are the ones who let their kids lead the raising. It's not like the kids are like, oh, I don't feel like I'm a girl, I want to be a boy. Mm-hmm. Cool, we'll let that happen. But then the kid's like, I don't want to go to bed. So they're like, oh yeah, you don't have to go to bed. I don't want to eat this. So, okay, you don't have to eat. Like, those are the ones giving out participation trophies for showing up at sporting events.
I
guess. Like, there's got to be a fine line, I think, because societally we're screwed up. Like everything is so screwed up as far as kids go, and as far as like look at people's work ethic nowadays. It's pretty much non-existent. People's empathy is gone. Like there's just so much wrong with the world, and I think a lot of it, maybe our parents had something right in the way they raised us, but also something's got to give when it comes to personality, or who a person is.
Well, it's apples and oranges, really. 'Cause,
Okay.
I mean, it's it's no fault of the child because it's child.
Right. They don't know any better.
Right. And I'm not going to say that, like, every parent, the parents that I've seen doing that, I think they compartmentalize, like, this is my child and their identity and their preferences, whereas, like, well, of course the kid has to go to bed at 9. But I feel like maybe that's not, I don't think that allowing a child to play with their identity and neglectful parenting are necessarily the same thing.
Okay.
I think if there was a parent who was letting kids get away with whatever they were doing and it falls under the guise of gentle parenting, I really feel like maybe that's probably more of like a lack of parental skills on their part, which will then lead to, I don't think them wanting their child to have any, wear dresses or wear pants or wear whatever they want has anything to do with the fact that I just don't think they want to parent at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, either way, there's a problem, and
Yeah.
it goes beyond, but that's neither here nor there, I guess, with what we were talking about. But yeah, okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about was there like a confrontation with you and Dad when you finally discussed it with him? Like, was there an actual discussion, or was it kind of just like, this is the way things are and I understand and I'm not going to talk about it?
No, there was never really, like, there wasn't any kind of culmination that you anticipate seeing, like, in movies or anything. It was just...
Yeah, like where you sit down at the kitchen and...
No, and a lot of people have had that, but there wasn't anything like that. I think Dad just came around in his own time. And, like, because I remember being a kid, and he and I we've had our differences, and it's just because we're very similar and very different.
Cool. It's not such a bad thing.
And I just remember being, like, 5 and arguing with him.
Wow.
We're arguing. And that's been our dynamic forever. But... I don't love him any less or anything, but it's just, he probably had a hard time understanding, and I don't want to say he did, I'm just saying he probably had a hard time understanding and maybe coping with it. He had a different kid, he had a kid that he didn't anticipate getting.
Well, to be fair, I'm sure that I wasn't much better.
Well, no, and I think maybe that, that speaks to something too, because he was probably suffering from a trauma of losing his firstborn son.
Wow.
In a divorce.
Okay, this is something I did. Oh. Wait, what?
Yeah, your parents were divorced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, wait, is there another kid? I don't know.
Yeah, and your mom got custody of you, and I think that was really traumatizing for him, I'm sure.
Okay,
and, maybe having he was going to have another son, and so it was like, all right, well, I don't see my first son, and maybe this one I can. Yeah,
here's another chance.
Yeah, here's another chance.
Start.
And then it didn't really go the way he thought, And
but I guess what I was getting at is that had I continuously been in there, I would have not met his expectations either. Like, even as a kid, I remember him taking me hunting one time, butt crack of morning, and I was like so tired, I don't want to go do this, but I went anyway, and we didn't really shoot anything or see anything for that matter, but I was like dreading seeing something. I didn't want him to shoot an animal. Like, I didn't.
Right.
And even as a little kid, like, it wasn't until we were full adults when she went vegan or vegetarian that I started to realize my contradiction between having a love for animals and eating meat. Like, it's weird because I could have realized that as a kid, but I didn't. It was just this is the norm. This is a societal norm. But Dad was such a big hunter, and he took me out, and I was like, I don't want this. I hope he doesn't see anything. I just want to go home.
Right. Yeah, no, and I was the same way. There was a time where I got into fishing for a bit.
Me too.
Yeah, I got into fishing. And we did bond a few times over that.
I think there's a picture of me holding a fishing pole or something, running away from a fish or something. Like that. Like, there's a meme about it, and I was like, that's me. Like, I think that's actually me.
I think, we had some experiences in bonding over things like that, because he and I, like I said, we're similar, but we're very similar and we're very different. But I think I remember he took me fishing once, and I caught this huge fish, and I was like, can we let it go? And he was like so moved that I wanted to let it go and was like proud of me. So I think that might have been.
That's cool.
Yeah. Later on, I think he kind of.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I
like
love
he
that.
came, I think he realizes like I can also enjoy those things, but I'm going to do it in my own way.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Cause I remember him like, he and I arguing because he wouldn't let me buy like Barbie toys. Cause he was like, he was just embarrassed. And I want to say like growing up, I'd never, and even now, like I don't hold any ill will, first of all, what's the point?
Yeah.
And second of all, he's just a person trying to make it and trying to understand the world and what he was given.
Same.
And that's just kind of how it goes. And now, we're really close. And
yeah, I heard a quote recently that said, having anger or hatred in your heart is like drinking poison and hoping your enemy dies.
Yeah.
Like it's a waste of your time. It's not going to do anything to them.
It's exhausting.
It really is. It's so stupid. Well, that's awesome. That's a really touching, beautiful story. That makes me really happy.
Yeah.
I like that.
Dad and I are pretty close. He and Claude are really, really close.
Yeah.
And I'm like really close with my mom, because she and I are very similar, not too different. But
your mom's awesome.
Yeah.
I love your mom. She's fucking cool as shit.
Yeah. I love her.
I do want to talk about their separation, because as long as I can remember, they were a thing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they weren't, and I was like, "What? What?
Yeah.
That's not normal." What? How did that? What was the catalyst for that? What caused that?
My parents were just different people. Then different people can love one another, but sometimes differences in what people's expectations are of one another and for one another, they just don't mesh up. And there was, things were a little hard for a while. And there was definitely like a breakdown of the family unit and family dynamic. But, it took me a long time to realize that, our parents are not superheroes and they're not gods. They're people, and they're experiencing their own lives. And they're also not only trying to navigate what we deal with every day, but they're also trying to heal from whatever their parents put them through.
Yeah.
It's all generational trauma.
Yeah, there's a lot of it too.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. And, and knowing our dad's history and my mom's history and their childhoods, like growing up and like later on thinking about it, it's just like you realize like where some coping mechanisms come from and like probably what led to certain events in like my childhood and their marriage. Yeah.
How did that breakup affect you and Claude?
It was hard on us because for a time we were kind of, he and I are really close. We're super close. And we were always there for each other, and that's kind of how we got through it. We kind of had to grow up pretty fast because there was a point where our parents just kind of checked out for a little bit. And I know that, and I told that to my mom. I don't think she necessarily, she thought about that. She didn't necessarily want to hear it or
agree with it.
No, not that at all. No. She had certain fears about it. It's more of like a out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
She's a really understanding person, I will say that. So.
Right. Yeah. So she, and because of it, I have got, abandonment issues and.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So it makes it hard. And I've explained that to her, like, really hard time trusting people in my life. Really hard time trusting that they're not going to be absent someday.
That's rough.
And because of the way that my parents' relationship was, my mom was kind of in and out. She was not. It's so hard to talk about this and not make it sound like my mom was a terrible person. Like she's neither of my parents. Amazing. Yeah, neither of my parents. They're both incredible people who've overcome a lot.
Agreed.
And in doing so, they were trying to overcome a lot and heal from their own childhoods, and they had to do it in their own ways, and those just weren't healthy ways. And unfortunately, they didn't make it as a couple. But because of it now, my mom, like I said, my mom was in and out sometimes of our lives. Like sometimes I would come home and she had moved out, or sometimes I would see her packing bags. And so that just rough. Just the vision, just the sight of that can be really traumatizing.
Yeah, preaching to the choir.
Then you expect everybody to do the same thing, no matter who they are.
That's crazy.
Yeah, when in reality, it's not like that.
Do you ever find a safe space where you're like, I'm comfortable here. I know this is not going to change. I know this person isn't going to walk out of me. Or is this like something that just kind of always happens? You always get those flashbacks.
Well, I always have that in the back of my mind. I also suffer from OCD, so that's kind of made. I can have obsessive spirals about people abandoning me. So that I'm on Prozac now, not sponsored, but like it's helped a lot. And I've gone through cognitive behavioral therapy. I got diagnosed when I was 18, and then I didn't get on medication until I was 38. So it was like last month. But
has it made a drastic difference?
Huge difference in my life.
Cool.
It's actually because, as we get older, things that may have worked in the past when we were, if you go to therapy and you learn some new coping mechanisms and some new exercises, they work, but not as well, and it's
you need them hard drugs.
Yeah, you got to get drugs, and that's what they're there for. And some of our brains don't work the way everybody else's does.
Well, mine doesn't work at all. So
yeah. See, like we need help. But having a disability like OCD, it does make healing from a lot of things very difficult because you tend to obsess about a concern, and that for me has always been a concern. I'm just always worried about people abandoning me and leaving me. Friends, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be friends, and especially if it's like female influences in my life, which, I mean,
wow.
Yeah, female influences in my life, yeah, and then there's a whole other thing in therapy I talked about with my therapist, but I prefer not to get into it. But it helped me realize, like, it's a lot of people leaving me in my life. It scares me, but especially if it's these female influences. And I was really close with my mom, and I mean, I still am, but like as a kid, she was, I looked up to my mom, and she was a huge influence in my life. I owe a lot to her as far as, like my knowledge about pop culture and culture in general.
Sure.
She was really influential with that. So, and me being at odds with my dad, like it was hard to have that central figure in my life. But the thing that came out of that is me and my dad found ground.
Cool.
And we were able to.
Yeah.
I should say our dad. I'm sorry, I keep saying
that.
But,
that's okay. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. He's mine too.
But I mean, there's things that came out of it where it's like, okay, now I'm here with Dad, and I've got to learn to get along with him. And then from there, where I found that we could not, we're having a hard time seeing eye to eye, and that's when I went to live with Grandpa.
I was going to ask about that.
Mm-hmm. It's not because of that primarily. It was a lot of it had to do with me just noticing how alone he was, and that broke my heart.
Yeah.
And so I was like, me and Dad are kind of having a tiff every now and then, and not only did that help my relationship with our dad, but it also, I got to live with like our grandpa and experience a very eccentric, unique person for
envious.
Over a decade.
I'm very envious of all that time you got with him.
And, he made me realize things about myself. And I think, talking about going back to being a queer person, I think probably living with a queer person was probably a humanizing aspect for him. And he handled knowing that he had a queer grandchild in his own way, which was probably not to like really address it, but to love. It's that whole like dumb bullshit about love the sinner, not the sin, or whatever that mess is.
Sure.
That. And which is fine, because Grandpa was Grandpa and I was me, and we loved each other, and that's just how it was.
That's awesome too.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's just how it was. And I learned so many things, and I learned to appreciate so many other things, and the way that he taught me, and I don't know, it was a great experience.
So when your mom left, I'm sure she would have preferred to take you guys, but there was probably a struggle between Dad and her about where you guys were going to go, or was it Mom just needing a break?
No,
your mom needing a break?
My mom, no, it's kind of complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into it.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated, and I think it would be, I don't know.
That's
It's
fair.
just, yeah, I think she felt a certain way. Like, she's like, me and Claude wanted to live with Dad.
Oh, okay.
I think
Okay.
she's like, you
So
know,
she gave you that freedom.
yeah.
It wasn't. I was just
But I mean, we visited every weekend.
okay.
She didn't live that far away. She lived
Well,
like
I was
maybe a
just
couple
wondering
miles
if
away.
that played into the abandonment feelings that you had. Like, she fucking left us, or was it you knew that she left you, but she did that because that was your
Right.
choice?
Yeah, I think, you know, the way that I always think about it is it's not so much like the after the fact that a person's gone, but it's the process of watching a person actively uproot their life.
Ouch.
And you don't.
God, that's
necessarily
hard.
go
That is
with
so
them.
harsh when you say it that way.
That was the hard part. That's seeing the action.
Well, and I was gonna say, don't ever think that I abandoned you. I was a little kid and I had
Oh,
no
no.
choice in that whole matter because I was happy with the way things were. Like, I got to go stay with Dad every other weekend or
Yeah.
whatever, and and then I remember fighting, and then I remember my mom just being like, "That's it, we're leaving."
Yeah, fighting. That's, I mean,
It's horrible.
Yeah. No, I've never thought of that. I mean,
Okay.
we've just had like an estranged relationship, and we're making up for it the best way we can. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would never abandon a brother ever.
Right.
Like
No, I know.
literally, like that's
Right. And if we
It
don't
seems like
talk
such
for
a
months at a time, it's not like I don't think that you've abandoned me or you don't want to talk. I don't know. It's just.
we're cool. That's all that matters.
That's it. Yeah, we're cool. Like, I'm not really. Yeah. That's actually something that I've had to learn to cope with. I think that probably stems from like, this person's gone. You know.
I will say I do find it really crazy that we live in the same city but rarely see each other.
know.
Like, we don't even
Well,
talk that often.
I mean,
but
like,
when we
I
do
live-
talk, it's fine.
Yeah, like I lived in Taos and less than a mile from my mom, and I would see her like maybe once a month.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's-
that's wild.
Yeah, I think that.
Well, and to be fair, it is a big ass city, so
it's life.
it is
really
life.
is
It
life.
really is. No,
life.
I feel you. But to that note, we should make a little bit of a more effort, I think, to
Yeah.
spend a little bit more time. At least maybe like do a regular dinner or something
Right.
once
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just we should try. Okay, now let's move on to when you lived with Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
How did Grandpa adjust to you moving in? Was he
loved it.
He was super open to it?
He loved it.
Yeah.
He was so happy because I asked him. I was like, "Can I come and stay with you?" And he was like, "Oh, I would love that."
Oh,
Please."
that's great.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say that it was all like, you know,
Peaches and cream.
peaches and cream, because I mean, we were, you know, again, we were different but similar, and he was a stubborn old man in his early
Set in his ways,
70s.
yeah.
You know, and he was a hoarder. He grew up during the Depression, so like they hang on to everything. Anybody who has somebody
Bro.
who is a relative who's part of the silent generation and they went through the Depression, they're
Bro,
going to keep
I
everything.
must have gone through the Depression because I keep everything. I have a really hard problem. I have a really hard time.
But there's all
letting shit
let me
go.
say, I think that's like genetic with us because I'm the same way. I've had to train myself to be like, this has meaning, this doesn't. It's really handy. I don't know when I'm going to use it again. I'm going to get rid of it. And our dad, he's a person who will not let go of anything. And
Well, that's fucking horrible because my mom's the same way. So I got it from
got
both
it
ends.
both ends.
That's horrible.
And see, and my mom, that's how I am. I'm like, this is pretty. And like, I don't know, if you go to my apartment, we'll have you over sometime soon. You'll see like how curated our apartment is. Like everything has meaning. And it's like something that's meant, you know, people in my life have
To
given
that
me or
point, that's very practical.
Yeah.
But
I had to train myself to do that because before I was like, oh yeah, I need to keep all of these old phone boxes because we might need them.
okay, you want it? I can up that. I about a month or two ago, I got up in the morning, went to the closet, and I put on a shirt that I realized I had since I was a freshman in high school.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
You're almost
Oh
collecting
my
Social
God.
Security, Jay.
yes, I know. That's my point exactly. Sarah had to step in and be like, dude, I've been telling you need to get rid of shit. And I'm like, no, but I don't want to because, this means this and this means that. And then having a brother who passed away that I was very close with, that made shit so much fucking worse. Like, I think I'm to the point now that I have a couple little things that were his, but dude, when I met Sarah, it was like I hoarded a mass amount of shit because I couldn't stand the thought of it getting thrown away or
Right.
somebody else using it when it was his, and
That's a trauma response.
it was fucking, it was
That's
dumb.
a trauma response, and that's like totally legitimate.
I'm getting better though, but yes, I do have that problem. Same thing, phone boxes and shit. I'm like, well, what if someday I want to fucking, this phone is worth $1 million and I don't have the original box, so
What
it's
if
only
my
worth half that.
sidekick from T-Mobile is going to be worth $1 million?
You never know.
Honestly, though, now like I think Gen Z is just like, can we get a sidekick?
Dude.
I want a sidekick. I miss my sidekick.
There is so many things from my childhood that are like worth a fucking fortune now that I just kind of tossed aside as a kid. That now I'm like,
I saw this TikTok and I think it was like captioned. It's like me going back in time. It's like, it's not the Beanie Babies, it's the Pokemon cards. And they're talking about how much people are paying for Pokemon cards now. And
I have a lot of Pokemon.
I know you do. I gave you some Pokemon cards when we were children. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail, but
No.
Yeah, going back to like living with Grandpa was a neat experience because it also gave me a sense of independence. But like he had a big enough house where I had my own like wing of the house.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, so he had like a upstairs bedroom and a downstairs bedroom, which essentially I turned into like kind of like a living quarters in the downstairs, and then I lived upstairs. And so, I don't know. It came at a time in my life when I really needed it, and then I went through a really, really terrible depression, really, really bad depression, and that's about the time that I got diagnosed with OCD, anxiety disorder, and he was there through all of it and helped me through it. Fainting in the bathroom and trying to get into the bathroom to wake me up, but I had the door locked and I was fainting in the bathroom.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah, and there was a time where, like, I think he was really grateful for me moving in with him because he was very lonely.
Well, I mean, we know that from his track record with the women that
the ladies
took on.
Yeah, he was really lonely, and he'd mentioned it to me. He's like, you're such a blessing. I'm so glad you're here. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it just, I think it made me realize too, like how much I like to, I don't know how to say it, but it's just, I tend to have a nurturing aspect to myself, and it made me realize like how much I do like to help people. And like thinking about it today, I was telling you about how I was helping my neighbor, and he's disabled, and it's really filling that void of where my grandpa.
It's like that side, and I'm the same way. That side of us, again, I'm going to pass it off to empathy, but that's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I have. This is going to sound very self-aggrandizing, but there's a lot of people in my life daily that I help with a lot of different things, and it's put me to the point that I'm like, I'll gladly put off my shit that I got going on to go help people, but it's to a point now that my shit is like about to avalanche on my head, so I've had to like stop people and been like, I'm sorry, like I still want to help you, but I have to catch up on my shit, or else this is gonna collapse on me and I'm gonna die.
Yeah, like, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. It's wild, but yeah, we're definitely brothers.
Yeah, it's
wild.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's you end up helping, and you don't realize you're doing it.
Yeah,
like you're sublimating your own needs and what
very
you need
well
to get,
said. Yes,
yeah,
that's it.
What
exactly.
you need to get done, take care of yourself because you're too busy helping.
But this is years going on that I've been doing this, and it's fucking kicking my ass.
It's also too like it can be, for me anyway, it can be a way to cope with not being able to control everything around you. If you can make this person who's having a hard time, if you can help them and solve their problem, then that's one less thing that's going to be bad and chaotic and I mean, like we both come.
You have a fantastic outlook. Mine is sort of, I don't know. I think, if full disclosure, if we're being honest, I think that for me, it's like I want everybody to like me. I want to be that guy that people can call and be like, "Hey, this is broken. Do you know how to fix it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, shit, yeah, I'll go help you right now." And I really, I know that it comes from a place of empathy, because there was at one point when I was building police cars that I decided one day that I wanted to like truly help with the Grand Theft Auto problem that Albuquerque has. And, not everybody can afford a car alarm. They're fucking expensive, and getting them installed is even more expensive. So I started doing this thing on Craigslist where give me $80 and I will put a makeshift theft deterrent system in your car. And none of the cars that I ever put those in got stolen ever again.
There you go.
So yes, one of them got broken into again, but they weren't able to steal it. So my thing successfully worked. And I did that because people can come up with $80. They can't come up with 400 for it.
Exactly.
And I thought, this is my way to help my community. But also, that was taking more time away from me doing my shit.
Right, yeah.
Which I guess, honestly, that was probably the beginning of all of this. And now I'm so deep in it that I need to take a couple months off to just catch up. Otherwise, I'm going to just bury myself.
It's
wild.
Compounds before you realize it. And I mean, and for me too, I have a really hard time watching people struggle. I have a really hard time watching people suffer.
It's sad.
And my neighbor, just watching him, I don't like to watch people struggle, so I'm trying to help him as much as I can. And that's where I just want everybody to be happy. And I was saying, like, trying to fix everybody else's problems. Well, I end up sublimating my own problems.
I'm proud of you for that. That makes me very happy.
And realizing that, like, looking back as a kid, it's just like, wow, you tried to fix your parents' relationship and marriage a lot. You try to save things. And
rough.
Those patterns will continue as you get older. So if you're trying to constantly orchestrate a sense of harmony within your own life, but doing so by trying to fix everybody else's problems for them, that's, we gotta sort it out.
You just reminded me of when we did reconnect when I was 18, and I went to stay the night at your house, and you were watching Sailor Moon, and I was like, is that something kids nowadays watch? Like, I didn't get the hint,
right.
And then I was like, okay, maybe, and I don't know, I guess I've been always, again, we'll pass this off to empathy, that I was like, I don't want to offend him if he's not gay, but I also don't want to make judgments and think he is.
Right.
And so I didn't even know how to approach that situation. This was like a whole new thing in my life, and I was like, whatever. It is what it is. I'm not going to say anything. It just...
But like, where that idea comes from is that, again, it's a feminine thing. We have a boy watching it.
Yeah,
and
that's
of course
crazy.
He has to be gay. And I mean,
what if you were? That would have been so fucked up of me.
I had a friend who was, he was a guy, and he loved Sailor Moon. But he wasn't gay. He just loved Sailor Moon. Because he thought it was funny, and he thought it was cool, and...
Okay, let's be real. I'm sure he was attracted to the women, too.
Yeah, he probably. I'm sure he was, but I mean...
I know a person who's very much that. So
yeah.
It's a thing.
But I mean, he loved... Obsession. Yeah, he loved Sailor Moon, and... I mean, he's...
That's funny. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail. I just...
No,
I just had that thought. I do want to talk about Grandpa's house, because I don't think I ever made it into the house beyond the kitchen.
Really?
No, really. Like, you walk in and there's like, what is it, like a great room, a den?
Yeah, there's like a great room, and then it would be the bedroom off to like the north end.
Never saw that.
Never saw the bedroom.
I never went past the kitchen. Like,
I mean, you've probably been all over that house if you were a kid.
Well, that's what I thought, but I don't... It makes me sad, but I don't have a recollection of like ever going in the house beyond the table.
Yeah.
I go in, sit at the table, eat Fig Newtons, leave. That was...
Right. I mean, Grandpa told me about how often he had you up there.
Okay.
Like, he would tell me stories about you guys walking to and from Grandma's house.
Fuck my head. Man, that makes me so sad. I wish I had those memories, because I really want to... Like, I remember Grandpa, and I remember the Fig Newtons, and I remember that entry part of his house, but I don't remember anything beyond that.
Yeah.
And I really want to get up there and just like go bask in it and go, take it all in, see what it was like. I mean, it's what comes back.
Still it's pretty much the same. It's just a little, vacant out. We go up there on like every couple weekends, and we stay up there.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so it's because I lived there after he passed away. I lived there for probably another year.
Okay.
Before I was like, I got to get the fuck out of this place. Not his house, but
out of house.
Out of house.
Okay.
Like, I did not like living there. I did for a point in my life. I liked living there, but I did not like living.
Well, I'm an absolute city boy. I can't go without amenities, options, people. Right. I need that shit. Yeah. Even if I don't want to talk to the people, they have to be there.
Right.
Like, so I don't like the small town life.
What's so funny is that, like, when I moved here, I slept so soundly, but in Taos, I have a hard time sleeping. It's too fucking quiet. So, like, if you're in Taos and you hear, like, a big bang or something outside, shit's up.
Some concern, yeah.
If you're at your apartment complex and you hear a big bang,
Yeah,
somebody's just stealing your catalytic converter. You know what it is.
That's too funny. Okay, so what was the catalyst for your move down to Albuquerque? Let's go into that.
Oh, my relationship. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you guys meet in Taos?
No, I first added him on Facebook.
I love your vernacular. It's so good.
And then we just kind of we were friends for a little bit, and then we just kind of fell for each other and worked out that way. And
so he's from here?
Yeah, he's from Albuquerque. He's kind of like an army brat. Not his dad wasn't in the army, his dad was in the Navy, but so he's been like Virginia and California and here and back. He's been everywhere. But he is originally from Albuquerque. And I was actually going to move before we met. I was going to move to California because that's what every queer person will do, is we'll move to LA.
I love fucking LA, so maybe I'm part queer. I love LA so much.
And I think after we met, I was kind of like, you know what, that might be a little far. I probably need a stepping stone. You know? And then I moved here, and it was like an adjustment for a month. And really what it was is that I hated my job. It wasn't even the fact that I...
Wait. What did you do when you first came? Oh, you worked for a flower shop here, right?
Well, I worked for a wholesale florist, which is the middleman between growers and florists. They're the people who distribute flowers to the florists. And I worked there, and to say that I hated it, I just didn't... the work wasn't for me. Like, it was not... Yeah, I'm a designer. The work... Like, doing invoices and shipping stuff was not...
Okay. Please, proceed.
Yeah, so I moved down here, and I got a job with the wholesale florist that actually used to supply me where I worked in Taos with flowers. It paid well, but I was there for I wasn't there that long, because after I got there, I think it was just 3 months before everything shut down, and then I got furloughed. And then that was probably about the time I was like, I don't think I'm going to go back. And that was about the time I decided, like, I'll probably just start my own business.
And you fucking did, which is awesome.
Did. That was after I worked a year for another flower shop. But it was, like, to get on my feet. And
you loved your job in Taos, right? You loved the flower shop you worked for.
Those people were family.
That's awesome.
They were family. That's another thing, too, about being a queer person, is that a lot of us have troubled backgrounds and, like, hard childhoods, and we've got, separated families, or some families don't even talk to some of us, and we culminate a chosen family throughout your life. You're just kind of like a snowball, and you just keep taking people with you as you go along.
You're just collecting people.
Yeah, you're just collecting people.
You're hoarding people.
You've got, you end up with a huge, not only, like, biological family, but a huge chosen adopted family. It's just how it works out.
Dude, our lives are so parallel. You would not believe the amount of that I experienced.
Yeah, we look for those connections in other people that we needed.
That's wild.
When we were kids, and you just end up finding them. And I've made some incredible friends here who are just basically family now. And that's when I first went to work for this other flower shop. I met them there and just made incredible connections, and they were really influential and instrumental in helping me start my business and continue to help me.
Oh, that's too cool.
Yeah. So after I worked there for a year, I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm gonna go start my own thing. And it's been a journey.
And how is it going?
Good. Last year was really hard.
Wow.
Last year was really hard because I almost closed last year. So
why? What was?
There was an economic downturn that we finally felt in New Mexico.
Okay.
And I'm realizing now that, like, the way our local economies link up, it's like travels northward, because I now have hearing from my friends in Taos that they're struggling. And it was kind of the same kind of climate I was experiencing last year. So last year I didn't focus too much on my own business and had to do a lot of, like, contract work.
Okay.
Which was like freelance floral design. So I was...
But
which was kind of cool, because I got to know other flower shops in the vicinity and in the area. So I was commuting back and forth to Santa Fe and know a really good flower shop up there. Barton's, shout out to Barton's. You guys are great. I love you. They kind of took me in and let me do some contract work for them.
Cool.
For a little bit, and that was nice.
So you've gotten over the hump, though.
Yeah.
Good.
I think it took It took me a little bit because I wanted to. I wasn't exactly sure I wanted to do floristry anymore.
Oh wow,
Like I was kind of, I was.
that's
It
crazy.
It took a really big toll on me, and I don't think I wanted to do it anymore. There's probably about 2 or 3 months where I'm like, just let this thing burn out and just do something else.
Well, and I've got to interrupt you there and say to the audience, Cory not only married Sarah and I officially.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But also did our flower arrangements for the wedding, so that was awesome.
I forgot about that. Yeah, there was a point where I didn't want to do floristry anymore, and I was like, I just want to sit in a basement and make prosthetic legs or something. This has got to be.
Oh my god! You want to design the latest and greatest
I just
prosthetics?
don't want to interface. I don't want to deal with orders. I don't want to. I think a lot of that was like feeling the pressure of like something that you created, like you birthed basically, with a lot of help from really amazing people. Watching it kind of suffer and almost die was just like, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. And then I did some retooling after talking to a few people, and it's been pretty good. The sad part is that coming into this quarter, like seeing a lot of other florists and really good designers close, which is really sad.
Well, I mean, does that open up an opportunity to help them out by bringing them on board with you, or?
Well, no, not necessarily, because where I'm at, I'm good where I'm at, and it doesn't. I think for some of those people, they were like, they probably, florists, we get burnt out so easily. It's so easy to get burnt out.
But I think that's any job, anything you like, even any hobby that can burn out's a real thing.
Florists tend to be creatures of habit, so you can get burned out on if you have like a standing palette of flowers that you use. Like the same thing over and over and over, and I experience that a lot. I mean, I've been doing this for 17 years, and there's some flowers I don't even want to look at. Like, sorry, I hate lilies. I don't want to look at them half the time. They're messy, and they're expensive, and they die really fast, and the qualities, I think the crops have all been off for a really long time. But you get into such a place where you're designing with one thing, or you're doing a certain, and you just get burnout, and it's really common with florists. You hear them talk about it all the time. And then sometimes people are like, I don't want to do weddings. I don't want to do Valentine's Day. And people will switch back and forth. Like they'll do Valentine's Day, but they don't do weddings. Or they'll do weddings, but they won't do Valentine's Day. Because why? Valentine's Day is awful. It's a really hard holiday. And it's really expensive. It is.
Well, but I mean, that's got to be a good moneymaker then.
It used to be, and not anymore, because Valentine's Day isn't so much a flower holiday as it is a gift holiday. And they've changed it.
That's weird. When did that happen?
Probably in the last 6 or 7 years. More prevalent in the 3 years that I've been in business, I've noticed a significant decrease.
I blame Hallmark. It's a fucking Hallmark holiday.
I think it's a card holiday, and it was a flower holiday, but not as big as it was now, because you can get people subscriptions of things that you really want. And we've also have to think about practicality has changed. Flowers are a luxury. People don't want to have things that they're going to have to throw away. They want something that they're going to be able to hang on to for a long time.
So do you offer fake flower arrangements?
Sometimes, only if people ask for them. Because silk flowers are actually more expensive than real flowers.
Yeah, but they last forever, so.
They do, but people don't want to dust them. And they put them outside and then they fade, and they're like, well, how come these didn't last?
The sun.
Yeah, it's 178 degrees out here, and there's no clouds. I don't know why they didn't last. Yeah.
Did you ever think about flower subscriptions? Is that a thing?
I do offer flower subscription. People, they get weekly orders of flowers. So.
No shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
I mean, I've retooled it in a way that it's working, and before, because I was working I had a part-time job and then also running my business, which was really taxing. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I can quit my part-time job.
Awesome.
And they were having a hard time too, because it was really slow for everybody. And there's not a lot of overhead for me because of the way I run my business. But for them,
Well, that's it. You win.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Dude, I'm very envious that you were able just to so effortlessly
I'm envious.
start
I
a
can't believe I
business.
even did it.
That's fucking cool. I would love to have the gumption and the know-how or wherewithal to just up and start a business.
I don't think you can ever be prepared enough. So if you're gonna do it, just do it.
I don't even know what I would do. I would start with something that I want to do, but
surprised at the businesses people run and operate.
I'm a
Overnight oats are like what? Overnight oat subscriptions and people make bank on that? I'm not calling it out. I'm just saying, like, how the hell are you doing that? That's crazy.
I'm a podcaster. There you go.
Okay.
I started a new business.
Good. Yes, that's
Let's monetize me. Somebody out there monetize
Yes, do it. Not calling out people who sell overnight oats.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, you guys.
I don't care.
You guys. Yeah, I don't know how you're doing it, but could you give me some pointers on how to market better? Because damn.
Oats. That's wild.
Yeah, Mark.
All right. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, and I've kept you here for a long time already. So we might have to just take a pause and do this again some other time.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, we definitely again need to make more of an effort to see each other more
Yeah.
often.
Do you want to cover politics while we're here?
Bro.
Do you want to talk about the debate?
Oh God. Oh God.
Do you want to talk about the two corpses?
I don't know that
were
was
arguing
much of a
each other?
debate. I don't know that either of those men are qualified to even be in front of a microphone, much less running our country. One's gonna like destroy us, and the other one's gonna forget about us.
Gonna fall asleep at the wheel.
I just don't know what's going on with life. It's so bad. But no, I don't want to talk about politics.
Yeah, we're in a very strange timeline right now. So
Strange. I feel like we're reliving 2016 and 2020 again, and I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop and the next pandemic to hit.
it's something else. I remember going to therapy and talking to my therapist about. I was like, "Hey, I just gonna ask you because she would live through the Nixon Watergate scandal, and she said that after that happened, she didn't vote till like Bill Clinton ran for president. So that was a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you tell me, were things ever this bad? I'm sure they have, but are they bad in the same way? And she was like, I can't really remember.
Oh, good. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking, I remember since I was 18, actually starting to pay attention to to politics and voting and whatnot. And I don't ever remember a year as intense as 2020.
Yeah.
It was like the worst feeling. It gave me anxiety all fucking year. I just couldn't wait for it to be over. And I feel like this year is that same thing again.
Yeah.
I'm like, can we just stop? I don't want to do this no more.
I feel like the only thing that grounds me is I'm like, we are in a spinning rock in this vastness, and not anything really matters that
It
much.
doesn't. The fucked up thing is we're all on the same rock, but we're fighting like
rock.
one of us is better on the rock than the other.
Right.
You fucking live on the same rock I do, dude.
Yeah, I think maybe taking some time and thinking about our own insignificance in the span of the
Yes.
universe is probably a good way to come down from
I
that.
think we should just be like, I don't want to fight no more. You're right. The sky is
Right.
fucking red, and whatever you say goes.
Not to, I mean, as a queer person, not to, I guess, sideline, because I definitely have my own concerns about the future, especially,
Yes, I know.
I have, as a marginalized person, I have concerns about the future. But I had to take, a moment and be like, I only have so much control over this. And I
so
tend
much
to let
control?
it.
Do you have any? Because I don't.
Yeah, I only have so much control. I only have as much control as responding to it, how I respond to it.
I have control of my garage clicker. That's
Yeah.
that's the extent of my life.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and voting is kind of the same way. It's either up or down, just like your garage.
It's so sad because you vote one way and it's a wasted vote.
Mm-hmm.
You vote the other way and you might as well just be sleeping with the enemy. So
Yeah, we're a lot of us are rational people, and we're trying to operate in a system that was not designed to operate for us.
we need to get rid of the two-party system. That's
Please,
that's
we need to get
all. We just
the electoral college, please.
Oh, God, fuck yeah.
please.
the House, the Senate, fuck them all.
Yeah, all are terrible. Yeah,
Every last
you're
one.
all terrible,
Dude,
so
this
bad.
stupid Supreme Court is like the worst thing in life ever. Puppets.
They're awful.
Fucking puppets.
So awful.
Anyway, we're not here to talk politics.
Sorry.
No. I just don't get me started.
Well, how did you want to do a podcast? What made you think of doing a podcast?
That's a great question. Thank you for for asking me something. So let's see, about 2016, 2017, I was building the police cars here in Albuquerque, and I had a friend who actually I did an episode with him this morning. He was talking about his true crime podcast that he listens to all the time, and just he was, oh, you gotta hear it. This one was crazy, and this happened, and this happened. And I kind of just in one ear out the other.
Right.
Whatever. I listen to music. I don't have time for podcasting. He's like, just listen to this one. All right. So I listened to the one, and I was like, bro, what other ones did you say I should listen to? And that just snowballed in the worst way, because by the end of that week, I already had 3 podcasts that I was following, and and
it piles up.
Now I've got so many that I can't even keep up with them.
Right. Me too.
So when I started my YouTube channel, I was like, you know what? I like to talk to people. YouTube's it's a one-way street. It's me trying to entertain you, but I do a lot better when I'm interacting with somebody, when I get some feedback. I need that live action to actually be who I am, I guess.
Right.
You can say, like, I kind of maybe get camera shy, or just my mind goes blank when I'm in front of a camera. I do my best, and I still make my videos because I enjoy doing it, but I'm not the most entertaining dude. Let's face it, there's so many more better channels out there. But I was like, okay, well, if I did a podcast, then I'd always have that cushion. I'd always have somebody there to back and forth with me, and that can help me, bring that out.
Good.
And so I was like, okay, well, what would my podcast topic be? And I was like, God, there's so much. There's a podcast for everything. Let's face it. There's no topic that's unique, I guess. And initially, I don't remember who I was having a conversation with, but I was talking to somebody, and I was like, God, this would be a great podcast just for other people to hear this, because it might have even been the guy who I interviewed this morning, but I was like, this is fucking wild. And then, I was telling Sarah some stories, and she's like, dude, that would be a crazy podcast. And I was like, that would be a crazy podcast. So I was like, I'm going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Albeit this took me damn near 7 years to actually come to fruition.
Right.
I thought about it. I made up a plan, and I was like, okay, I'm going to buy the equipment. So step 1, I bought the equipment. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to start recording episodes. So I started recording episodes. And then I was like, cool, I have a lot of episodes. I'm going to start putting them out. And then I made a release date, and then I made another release date, and then I made another release date. And by the third time, I was like, this shit is not going to happen.
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't even edited the episode. And then I was sitting there one day, and I was like, God, I already invested in this, and time and money. And I was like, I got to just fucking buckle down and do it. So I sat down at the computer one day and started editing the first episode, and I was like, cool, got one done. And then I just kept going. And yeah, here we are.
That's good. I like the title of the podcast, and I think we need more podcasts like this, only because I feel like you said, there's podcasts that are about one subject. And I think with like the way that society is, and like our vast like celebrity worship, like, can we get some average Joes? Can we hear, because there are people walking around everywhere with incredible stories.
And that was my thing. So, like, don't get me wrong, I love listening about celebrities. I love all those podcasts.
Yeah.
I love to learn about their past and what they've gone through, but also I want to hear about that dude walking down the street over there. He looks like he's got some shit to say, or that girl over there, she's had it rough. I want to know why, things like that. And I'm just such a curious person that, like, I'm full disclosure. If somebody's chatting next to me and I can hear them, I'm not going to shy away from listening to their whole conversation. I want to hear everything. I'll even butt my nose into their business. I'm like, wait, I'm sorry, what did you say? I missed that last part.
I'd like to add to what he's saying. Sir, could you just enjoy your double-decker taco and shut up?
So yeah, that's totally me. I butt into people's conversations all the time, and I don't even realize I'm doing it. And Sarah's like, "Oh my God, like, what are you doing?"
Should have been a journalist.
No, I hate writing.
I mean, you don't have to write. I mean, there's a lot of people who are journalists, and they have. I mean, like, Wendy Williams is a journalist. She had a TV talk show.
Okay, but also I don't
It's
think
like
I'm
a
that
TV talk
good.
show. What's that?
I don't think I'm that good. I'm getting there. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I got a long way to go, though.
But I mean, if you find people and their stories interesting, I mean, I think that's
So many. There's so
many.
like,
yeah.
dude, people will just come into my work, random people, and we'll have time to kill before their job starts or something, and we'll just start chatting, and I'm like, wow, this would be great. How do you feel about being on a podcast? And I'm not joking. I have probably 20 people lined up that are
That's amazing. No,
I don't know
great.
these people.
Yeah.
I just love this little conversation we had.
No.
So
I'm a people watcher. That sounds creepy. I don't mean it in a creepy way, but I'm a people watcher. I watch what people are doing, and I sit there, like, I'll be having coffee or something, and I see people walking, and I'm like, I wonder what his story is. Where is he going right now?
that's exactly how I feel. And you want to know, that plays into my unhealthy fascination with airplanes, because I'll look up in the sky and I'm like, I wonder who's on that plane and where they're going and why they're going there.
Love that. No, that I never thought about. Yeah, like, how many people are on that plane? Where are they going?
Yes, and
why?
That's what led me to download the flight tracking app, so at least I can know where that plane is originated, where it's going, and I have I can make some shit up in my mind. Right. There's business people on there, and there's people going on vacation in there.
Her mom had a stroke. She's gonna go see her mom, and she and her sister fight. I know they do, and I bet there's a hidden will.
There totally is. Yeah. And she's just trying to up her ante in the wheel. Yeah. She doesn't even like her mom.
The sibs don't talk.
Yeah. So that was, and there's actually an interesting story behind the name of the podcast too, because it started off Extraordinary Joes.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yes. Okay, this is really good. Okay. When I first started thinking about the podcast, and I was like, this is going to be my platform. This is what I'm going to do. And I was like, everybody's extraordinary in their own way. Mm-hmm. And I was like, cool. So my little thing was, we don't have time for ordinary because we're all extraordinary Joes. So I had this whole thing worked up. I had titles, I had thumbnails, I was ready to go. And this was recently, the night I was going to post it on that. Okay, and let me backtrack a little bit. Before, when I thought of this title, I was like, okay, that's got to be, somebody's had to have used that. That's too good to be original. Yeah. So I Googled it, nothing. I YouTubed it, nothing. I Spotify'd, nothing. Cool. Oh my God. But then it's also my fault for taking so fucking long. So then I did my whole thing and finally came up about a month ago to when I was going to post it online. Mm-hmm. So I put it all up online, got all my episodes scheduled that I had edited, and I was like, well, just for shits and giggles, I Googled it, and sure enough, Extraordinary Joe's almost the exact fucking everything. God. This guy already had 100 episodes posted, and I was like, fuck.
No.
So I was super discouraged, and I almost quit. I walked over to the couch just with this defeated look, and I told Sarah, and she's like, nah. Yep. And she's like, why didn't you Google it before? And I said, that was the first thing I did. And I was like, this came after my idea. And I was like, I swear it was a fucking original thought. But then trying to convince somebody of that. Yeah. They're like, yeah, right. You just, because it was almost identical to mine. But in researching his channel, this guy talked to people who are not so average or ordinary. His people are like a pro basketball player, a fucking captain of a ship, and I'm like, bro, these are not normal people.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about that.
Okay, they're not celebrities, but they're fucking the next level up. These are not your fucking cashier at Albertsons. This is not who you're talking to. That's who I'm talking to. These are ordinary Joes.
Yacht. Yeah. I don't have a yacht.
So then Sarah and I started brainstorming, and she actually came up with the new name for the podcast. So I had to go back and change everything, and I had to edit out Extraordinary Joes from all of my previous podcasts. Oh, no. And the guy was really nice about it. I messaged him, I reached out because I thought, I put too much work into this to just let it go. So I was like, I thought I had an original thought, but it turns out I discovered your podcast, and I was like, would you be okay with me adding the Extraordinary Joes or an Extraordinary Joe or something like that? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, no, that's fine. I haven't been keeping up with it anyway. And he's like, so yeah, feel free. And then, I just also didn't want too many people to be directed to his channel looking for my channel. Yeah. So that's why Sarah's like, well, how about this? And it really fits better than Extraordinary Joes because, maybe in some people's eyes, somebody might not be extraordinary. even though like the stories they're telling are great, they might not be an extraordinary person, but we are all ordinary people.
Yeah.
And the stories we tell is what stands out. That's what's extraordinary. So the name actually fit a lot better with what I was doing than my old name. So.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think that's great. And like I said, I want to hear everybody's story, like average everyday people's stories. I mean, like,
Same.
Look at our grandpa. Like the stories that came out of that man.
Dude, I Googled him after he passed, and I was just like reading everything I could, and I was like, this is fucking wild. This dude was
stories.
He was crazy.
Somewhere I have record because I got him, sat him down, and I was like, I want to hear some stories, and I recorded them.
Oh, I'm so envious.
I know. I think I know where they're at.
If you can find that, I'll release it as an episode.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's not an interview, I'll gladly just.
Some of them are kind of.
That's okay. I don't care. I want kind of.
They're kind of. Yeah, they're kind of. I mean, like. You know, because I mean, he grew up in New Mexico when it was like still the Wild West.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
and then he did that fucking water shit.
Yeah, water dowsing.
Wild.
Which he hated, like when people called it water witching. He hated it.
Well, yeah.
You know what? God bless you, Grandpa. But I'm gonna tell you, okay, that man was a witch. Okay, because like collected rocks, collected bones, hung out with animals, could find water with a stick, and he's like, "Please don't call me a witch." Okay, just give it up to God. That's what he would always.
Yeah, I know.
He would always like, "Give it up to God." Like, but you're the one doing it.
Right. I've never met God. I've met you.
You know, Dad can do it. Dad can find water.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I need to get him on here. I want to.
Dad and Claude's wife Candace, she can do it.
Shut the fuck up! Yeah. How do you do that shit?
I don't know. And the crazy thing too about it was like, so one of the last wells that I went with Grandpa, we all went to, because Claude has land up in Colorado, so we went out there to douse a well on it, right? And like the moment Grandpa gets out, he's kind of like, I think we're gonna find water over here in this area, and which is not uncommon for him to. And he can tell you exactly how deep it was. He could tell you like it's gonna be this deep, but it could be off by 100, 200 feet, right?
Well, still in the grand scheme, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
Pretty damn good. And so it wasn't a huge piece of property, but so we get out there, and anytime that we went, like Grandpa would have Dad try to douse with the willow branch, and it never worked. But then one day it worked, and this is 2 or 3 months before his stroke.
Oh shit!
Yeah, before Grandpa's stroke. So we get out there, and it never worked for Dad. And we get out there, and Grandpa first he found the stream. Right, we walked all over. He found the stream. He wanted to find another one that was way down, but there's like certain there's certain laws you can't drill in a certain amount of feet, like in proximity to a road. But where he found it was just right, like it was in the corner of the lot of land. So it was like right in the corner, and so which was in basic, like they could still drill it anyway. So we found that, right, and so Grandpa was like, James, go ahead and try it. And so he's like, all right, and so he tried it, right, but it finally, like, he walked over it and went right down over the stream, and Dad was freaked because it never worked ever.
Dude, that's crazy.
So he had us all try it. You know, Claude and I, we can't do it. But then Candace tries it, and it works for her. But she was off by like 10 or 15 yards, right? So then Grandpa's like, okay, come here. And so he puts his hands on her shoulders and has her walk over the stream. He fucking calibrated her. Like, so after, he's like, okay, try it again.
Dude.
Yeah, try it again. And so she walked over the stream and it went right down where the stream was. Like, he calibrated her water dowsing skills.
That's fucking wild.
So weird.
His rocks, his
starlights.
Yes, those little crosses. That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought? That shit's crazy. Like I remember that from being a kid too.
Yeah.
I have one somewhere that he gave me recently, and I remember when he signed for my first car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's her name? Kind of.
Oh, sure.
Made, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, he co-signed for me to get my first car, which was super awesome. I loved that car. But yeah, he brought me 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And being a stupid kid, I lost them, which is super disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I can get you some more.
Please
I think
do.
I might even have a necklace if you want a necklace. Then you won't be able to lose it.
That would be awesome.
The man was just...
He was wild.
And that was the last trip that we all kind of like took, like family-wise. And then, like I said, it was really strange that after that he suffered his stroke. It was like it passed on to Dad.
That's wild.
Yeah, and now Dad can do it. He's pretty good at it. So
that was rough.
mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time with him in the hospice, and that was fucking sad.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was, I guess, trying to make up for lost time in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been nice to have been able to get feedback from him, but
right. I know he was a lot happier there than he was, or he was in the hospital because I remember
machines.
because I mean, the man never left the house without a hat on. So
right.
I know when I put him in hospice, I was like, I'm gonna say goodbye to you here because I don't want to come back and see you in,
Be glad you didn't.
Yeah, because I knew, because he was already looking pretty waif in the hospital.
It was fucking rough.
And then when I get to the funeral home, like, I know they see that type of stuff every day, but they were like, oh yeah, he looks pretty good. You should have an open casket. And I was like, again, I get it, but he would not want people to see him that way.
Right.
So I get it, but
no.
We're going to have to honor his wishes. And we know he's here, and like we can say goodbye to him with the casket closed, So.
Damn, dude. That's, poor Grandpa. Hell of an interesting guy, though.
Hell of an interesting guy.
Like, Google him. Google Joe Graves from Taos.
From Taos, New Mexico.
Hella interesting.
You'll see him dousing water and his starlights, his minerals, and he was on a show back in the 70s. I think it was called That's Incredible.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he was. He was on That's Incredible.
Wow.
And they, because back then I think they did TV shows, and then they also did like companion books. So like he was in the TV show, and then they released a companion book, and he was also in the book. But they called him a water witch. And he was really pissed off about that. And I remember him like opening it up and like crossing out witch and just being like Dowser.
That's not me.
But he bought like a bunch of copies to give them out to people, saw that they did that, was so pissed off, and went through all of them.
Oh god.
Crossed them out and wrote in Dowser and like redacted witch.
And that was in the 70s? The book came out?
Yeah, the book came out, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s. But then I don't think he knew that there was a book out. And then later on, I found it in the library. And I was like, cool. Grandpa, look at this. And he was like, oh my God. And so he went, I think it was out of print or something. And so he bought, I think he contacted the publisher. I don't remember what he did, but he got a box of them.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah, I think Dad has a copy.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
See if I can't find one somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I need to make a trip up there.
Yeah.
Haven't seen Dad forever.
He needs to come down here.
Yeah.
I try to get him out of the house.
Yeah, no, I've told him too. You need to come see the house and come hang out, and we need to do dinner at least.
Yeah.
But
he has a hard time leaving home. The ranch.
I can't blame the man because I have a hard time leaving home. I don't even like going to work. So
it's a long drive. But he's making more of an effort to get down here. But he just has a lot on his plate, and so
sure.
Yeah. But
someday.
Yeah, someday.
Soon.
Yeah, soon.
I'm gonna start bugging him frequently.
Do it. Yeah, he'll love that.
All right. Well, let's call it here.
Okay.
Hour and a half. This is going to be hell to edit. That's okay. No, I love the conversation, and I really am looking forward to doing it again.
Good. Yeah.
I still have so much to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, thank you for taking the time out of your day and coming down here.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
It's cool.
Wait till you hear some of the episodes. I'll send you the link so you can start listening.
I think you had sent it to me once before. I think,
okay.
But I don't.
Well, we'll get you subscribed before you leave.
Give me refresh the links.
Do you have Spotify?
Mm-hmm. That's where I listen to my podcast.
Okay. So you do audio only mostly, or do you do video also?
Both.
Okay. Well, I'll give you all the links. I'll give you all of the links.
Give me all the links.
Yeah. And I was going to tell you, if you ever need work on your car, don't go spending all these buku bucks. Just bring it over here.
Yeah, no.
I will fix and work on your car for
honestly. Just need to call Jay. And,
yes, shit's expensive. Don't waste your money. I got you.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you. I love you, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye.